Giving feedback, it can be tricky, right? You want to help someone, but half the time it just seems to blow up in your face. Well, today we are going to dive into some seriously timeless wisdom from Dale Carnegie that's going to help you turn that feedback from something people dread into something they actually appreciate. I mean, let's be real for a second. We have all been there. You pull someone aside, you try to give them a helpful tip, some of that constructive criticism, and boom, they either get super defensive or they just completely shut down. You were just trying to help. So what is going so wrong here? Well, it turns out the whole way we're taught to give feedback, it's actually the problem. So let's break down exactly why that is. Okay, let's talk about the dreaded praise sandwich. You know this one, right? You start with a little piece of praise, then you slide in the criticism, and then you top it off with more praise. The thing is, people can smell this coming from a mile away. The moment they hear that compliment, they're just bracing for the butt, and that initial praise ends up feeling totally fake. So if the praise sandwich is officially off the menu, what do we do instead? Well, it all comes down to how you kick off the conversation. And here is the absolute golden rule. If you start with praise, it has to be 100% genuine. If it's just a tactic, just some fluff to soften the blow, they will feel it, and the whole conversation is basically over before it even starts. It has to be real. Right, that's a fair question. What do you do when somebody has really messed up? When you're trying to find something genuine to praise and it just feels impossible? What's the play? This is where Dale Carnegie's advice gets really interesting. He says we need to appeal to their nobler motives. That little part inside all of us that wants to be seen as a good, honorable person. Let me show you what I mean with a quick story. So imagine you're a landlord. You have a tenant who moves in right at the start of winter, when your heating bills are through the roof. Then the second spring hits, he comes to you and says he's breaking the lease and moving out. He's basically leaving you high and dry with all the costs. Now, the landlord's first instinct, it was to get furious. He was all set to shove the contract in the tenant's face, threaten to sue him, the whole deal. But then he just took a second and decided to try something completely different. Instead of yelling, he just calmly went to the tenant and said something really powerful. He said, I've always thought of you as a man who keeps his word. So when I heard this, I thought to myself, I must have made a mistake, because that just doesn't sound like the kind of person you are. And guess what? It worked. The tenant was given this honorable reputation to live up to. He didn't want to be the guy who goes back on his word. So he apologized and actually agreed to stay for the rest of the lease. No fighting, no lawyers, just a simple, smart conversation. Okay, so we have our opening move, right? Either sincere praise or an appeal to their nobler motives. Now, let's put it all together into a complete, future-focused formula. It really just comes down to 3 super simple steps. 1, start with that genuine praise we talked about. 2, and this is important, frame your feedback as advice for the future, not criticism about the past. And 3, and this is the magic trick, connect those 2 parts. And how you connect them, it all comes down to one tiny word. If you say, you did a great job, but, you've just canceled out the compliment. That word but basically acts like a delete key for whatever you said before it. But if you say, you did a great job, and I think if we focus here next time, it'll be even better, now you're building on the positive. It is a total game changer. Okay, so we've just learned a fantastic formula. It really works. But what if I told you there's an even more elegant, even more powerful method? A method where you might not have to give any criticism at all. This is where we get into next level stuff, because instead of just talking about the problem, the most masterful way to handle it is to change the situation that's causing the problem in the first place. Find the root cause, fix that, and the bad behavior often just disappears. So check out this case study. It's about a 9-year-old kid who just started lying all the time. His parents tried everything, scolding him, reasoning with him, but nothing was working. The lying just kept happening. So they stopped focusing on the symptom, which was the lying, and they started looking for the cause. They asked themselves, why is he lying? And the answer was pretty simple. He was afraid of being punished. So they changed the rules. They said, from now on, if you make a mistake and you tell the truth about it, you won't get punished. They took away the fear and poof, the lying stopped. Here's another quick one. A woman had a housemaid who was a really great person, but she kept messing with her prized basil plant. She was trying to be helpful, trying to fix it, but she was actually killing it. And this is just brilliant.
Instead of yelling at her, the employer realized the root cause wasn't malicious. It was a genuine desire to garden and to be helpful. So she just bought the housemaid her very own planter box and said, "This one is all yours to take care of." The problem was solved forever, and not one critical word was ever spoken.
So, let's bring this all together. We've just put together a really powerful new toolkit for communication that actually helps people grow. Here it is, your new feedback cheat sheet. Start with sincere praise. If you can't, appeal to their honor. Frame everything for the future, not the past. Swap that but for an and. And for the master move, solve the root cause of the problem. Any one of these can totally change your most difficult conversations. So now, the real question is for you. Think about it. What is one conversation that you've been avoiding that you could completely transform with these tools? Give it a shot. Thanks so much for watching.